Hey, welcome back. We are going to be examining Convergence drivers, challenges, and opportunities. And we're going to have a scintillating session, I hope. We can divulge some information that might help you along your journey of learning on this Convergence challenge of MarTech, AdTech, and CommTech. Let's get started. You know, a number of years ago, I actually had a very good course with a fellow that was an expert in data. And he described it this way. There's three roles in data insights. And really, that's what we're after a lot of times is the insight, right? So to unearth insights, you need three role players: a foreman, a detective, and a data chef. I like the way he phrased that. The foreman focuses on the big picture and long-term objectives. They do a number of important things. They strategize. And strategy is really the beginning point, right? To define the research problem, and they set the objectives, and they develop a plan that aligns with the business strategy. That's what we're here about all the time. The detective employs critical thinking and analytical skills to uncover insights. Now, that's really where a lot of the stuff falls apart. You know, we get the data and we don't necessarily find a good way to analyze it. So they are responsible for gathering and examining data from various sources. And they look for the patterns, that's really important, and the trends, and investigate the underlying causes of consumer behaviors, which we're really concerned about. That is the funnel, right? And the data chef, it combines the ingredients to create a meaningful and digestible meal. I love the way that's said. And that data chef is responsible for synthesizing complex information so that it's clear, concise, digestible, something that we can act on. And that's really the whole concept. So let's look at the seeds of convergence. Again, that's where we left off the last time, that centerpiece, convergence, being a very, very important part of what we're trying to do here, because we've got three basic silos or columns of support, and we're trying to get to that point. So let's think about convergent drivers and implications. And essentially, what we're thinking about here is not just integration. It's really about fundamentally rethinking how organizations structure their communications. Now, we've had some conversations in class, and many of you are concerned about dashboards. Well, really, that's the dashboard is what we're reading. That's what we're trying to read there, our progress. So convergence is driven by the technological developments and the changing consumer expectations. Kind of a tricky little course to navigate, creating both opportunities and challenges. There are 5 general areas: privacy revolution that's affecting this, our concern about privacy, data centralization, the omni-channel imperative. Omni-channel, we can no longer play in one little playground. AI and machine learning, which has just cropped up big time in the last couple of years, and then attribution and measurement. The first thing we talk about is the privacy revolution, and it is taking place. Creepy? That's a good way to describe it. We think about data capture, right? We've all been retargeted. Yep. Remember this? You're thinking about a wonderful trip to the Bahamas. The next thing you know, this guy's following around your web search. And you get a little frustrated, particularly when you dished up an ad. One of the things about advertising is any attempt to sell, if detected, is met with immediate resistance. So that's something that's a reality. And I think this has been such an overwhelming kind of a question for all of the public, that there's a little too much look-see into our backgrounds, into our behaviors, into our clicks and everything else. And and the privacy revolution has really kind of reared its it's called beautiful head, because people do deserve privacy, and marketers have to figure out what the borderline is on that. These kinds of tactics have turned our happy search into skepticism, and that's something that is never good for anybody, right? So the other thing we have to think about is that customer data platforms, that CDP, have emerged as critical technology. It's the kind of central nervous system, if you will, that connects previously siloed data across MarTech, AdTech, and CommTech platforms. So what is new probably is this idea of composability. It's a modular, flexible approach to building a CDP, a customer data platform, that leverages your existing data infrastructure. And this is particularly like a data warehouse. Instead of a single prepackaged platform, it's assembled from various tools and components, allowing you to choose choice. That's what you have to have sometimes when you're trying to manage marketing. To choose the best tools for specific tasks like data collection and transformation and activation and so forth. So we think sometimes about best of breed versus all-in-one. Very seldom you're going to have the best in breed and all-in-one solution. So that's why we have stacks, and then we have to creatively put the stacks together and then cause them to harmonize with one another, because that's what's all about at the end of the day, or let's say even the beginning of the day, right? Okay, the third driver is the omni-channel imperative. Consumers expect The third option is the omni-channel imperative. Consumers expect consistent, personalized experiences regardless of channel. So the technology that gets us there is really, we have the way we construct the experience. We begin with that ever famous consumer journey, and what we're trying to get at here, in a nutshell, is how are we going to move from that notion that this fellow is going to be kind of moving along in his daily search, his daily activities, and we're going to try to get 7 different appeals, that's what the research says, before we're going to actually move him maybe into the consideration set and then through into conversion. So that's where we get technology to help us out. It's the way it's got to happen. It's probably, the holy grail, if you will, I guess, the best way to put it. Now, artificial intelligence, magic words, AI, everybody's talking about it, has been around for decades, literally. But until OpenAI actually introduced the ChatGPT, when was it, 3 years ago or whatever, this November, only very brilliant data scientists could leverage its power. Now, we kind of all have a hand in it. And AI tools now span across traditional MarTech, AdTech, CommTech. Now, one of the things that we're looking for this to do is to provide predictive analytics that anticipate consumer behavior. We're looking for real-time optimization of messaging across channels. We're also looking for automated content creation and personalization at scale. Content is getting to be one of those things where, we can actually use AI to develop a lot of it, and it's making it. I hate to think of the fact that we're eliminating jobs as much as we're finding new jobs for people and new tasks for people to approach. But automated content is usable. You have to be careful. You have to be, genuine about it. But automated content is the way that we can actually move to scale. That's the whole idea, personalization at scale. And then finally, sentiment analysis, particularly in CommTech, where across owned, earned, and paid media. That sentiment is what will help us understand sometimes how to make crucial decisions. So then we move to the fifth, and that is attribution and measurement challenges. We don't get paid for those targets, those arrows that miss. The board of directors and the clients don't reward near hits. Marketing, advertising, communication people like us have suffered significant credibility gaps for failing to actually have the metrics in place to identify or create some sort of level of success. And that's got to change. And fortunately, through technology, we can change it. And that's where we're really kind of moving in this whole scheme of things. So effective attribution requires visibility across the entire customer journey. And that's from the initial impression on through to the nurturing and the overall eventual conversion, and then the follow-up loyalty. So if we think about attribution as connecting cause and effect, then we actually have a framework that we can follow where I can, actually attribute the outcome of my actions and explain it to my boss. And they're the ones that are interested. Even if we fail, they're interested in why, if we know why we failed, because that's going to lead to success, right? Okay, so the new integrated technology stacks, there are 4 components of the stack. You go to the website, and that second picture kind of says, wait a minute, I just left the website, and it's retargeting me. Maybe people don't know that term retargeting, but that's what's happening. Well, right? It's following you through, and it gets a little creepy, makes us feel a little peculiar about this whole thing that goes on. That's the privacy revolution rearing its beautiful head in this respect, because we do deserve our privacy. And then you finally get down to, well, they're pitching me an ad, and nobody really wants an ad. Any attempt to sell, if detected, is met with immediate resistance, is the old line in advertising. So when we think about this scheme, what has happened is there's been, cookie prohibitions. There's been all kinds of privacy things going on. That's something we always have to be aware of. Second thing is data centralization. This CDP, the customer data platform that enables us to really centralize customer data in the cloud or in a single warehouse or lake, allowing teams to work from the same source of truth. We talked about the source of truth. What are we really getting at here? Where can we get to what really matters to people? And the whole idea is that our businesses can then really scale. And it's not a matter of simply just dealing with 100 people. It's dealing with thousands or millions. And we have to do that across channels. And that's where really we discover it gets to be a little difficult to handle. So the cloud helps us. And you might look at something, the latest wrinkle in CDP is something, an example would be Twilio's segment. It's about composability. And composability is that ability to collect, unify, and then activate customer data. So that's something to think about. Take a look at that if you get a chance.
Number 2 on the agenda,
one thing I want to talk about, when we talk about all-in-one kinds of solutions, the biggest problem with that is it's not best in breed usually. So sometimes we find that stack has to include hopefully all the best in breed pieces, and then we have to hook them together. So there becomes the big challenge. The third is the omnichannel imperative that consumers expect. They expect consistent, personalized experiences. We think about consumers in these silos, but they cross over, on a regular basis. You're in various silos at any given time, silos of communication. And they really, from our perspective, we are benefited when the consumer sees us as one holistic picture. So when we think about that over there on the far left with that, the consumer journey, his journey is usually somehow affected positively if he gets 7 strong appeals from us. That's when the consumer starts to say, hey, I'm going to go and move to the next level, and I'm actually going to move to conversion or consideration. I've moved to consideration. Now I'm going to move to conversion. So that's kind of what we think about there. The fourth is the AI and machine learning piece. AI is just taking over our lives in many ways, and we're jumping to it. We're experimenting with it. But there are 4 things that happen here. One is the predictive analytics that anticipate consumer behavior. That's a significant part of this. Second is the real-time optimization. That we can actually, understand messages across channels. How do we capture that? How do we bring that into our decision making? The third is automated content creation and the personalization at scale, which is something we talk about all the time. And then sentiment analysis, across the owned, earned, paid medias and so forth. So when we think about the 5 drivers of convergence, the 5th one being the attribution and measurement challenge. That's where we get measured by our bosses, by our customers, by are we really reaching the mark? The board of directors and the clients don't care about the near misses. They just don't care. What they want is marketing, advertising, and communication professionals to really get on top of it. And boy, for years we have suffered significant credibility gaps. When it comes to people, for example, that might be in the finance area that have real strong metrics or P&Ls and that sort of thing that have been strong metrics that the board of directors and the boss can look at and say, hey, they can show me, can you? So that, the attribution and measurement challenges are immense. The attribution is connecting cause and effect, right? That's really what we're talking about. How do we attribute the outcome to what we did? And that's, if we can do that, we're on track.
This is a cohesive system.
So when we think about the new integrated technology stack, here's another issue that has to come up, and that is we need unified data foundation. That's kind of what we've talked about a lot, and we realize that the customer data platform is that CDP is that we can create a single customer view. And then the data warehouse that stores and processes large amounts of data is another part of that. So we get this triangle here with the bottom measure being the identity resolution systems. How do we actually, those are the ones that connect the identifiers across platforms, as well as choices that you'll make with your tech stack that can have significant effects, downstream effects. End of day effects, if you will, including the kinds of integrations that have to take place. So that brings us to this idea of organizational implications. What does this mean to our organization? Well, this part of this course is obviously dealing with the human side. Every time I talk to anybody in the technology world, the leaders are always concerned about how people adopt or take in technology. And we think about traditional hierarchy, which maybe some of us have spent a significant part of our lives in. It was this top-down kind of thing. And it looked very much like that with the VPs and the managers, and then all the worker bees, the people that do all the heavy lifting on an individual basis. Well, that's changing, and we're seeing more and more agile teams. Now, back in the day, CEOs were afraid of this idea of matrixed systems. But matrix systems is really what it's all led to, because it's such a complex array of actions that have to take place. We need to have cohesive transfer of information, communication between product team, engineering, customer success teams, and of course the innovation labs. If we are able to actually bring those things together, then we'll probably have a pretty good chance of having our marketing work better, because the technology is actually harmonized with the way people work. So that means that the old rigid structure, slow decision-making, siloed departments, and limited collaborations have given way, hopefully, to cross-functional teams, rapid innovation, and collaborative culture, as well as an adaptive structure. Adaptation is what it's about. Change occurs. It's up to organizations to adapt. It's not so much about, quote, change management. It is adaptive behaviors. What does that mean? Well, technologically, it moves from silos to cloud, right? I mean, silos, by the way, there's nothing bad with silos per se, but the issue becomes when the silos do not communicate with one another. And the cloud is a way for us to kind of organize data, and we'll get into more detail on that. But that's essentially the framework that we're trying to get at. So then we think about the other the convergence that's shaping the structures. For example, in breaking down departmental silos, we just talked about this, what we saw in that previous graphic. The traditional departmental boundaries, they're less distinct now. Matter of fact, I just saw an article last week about the changing CMO title. It's got 5 or 6 different kinds of chief commercial officers and things like that, because the boundaries are changing. They're less distinct. New roles and competencies. Now, this is where it comes in for you. Communications technologists. These are a new kind of a role, and we'll talk about this in a week or so regarding the people who understand both communication strategy and technology implementation. That may be you. You may be in the perfect position to do that. We need data-savvy communicators. These are the folks who can actually understand the analytics and optimize the messaging. It's the link. Understand what needs to be said and say it. And then the cross-functional leaders, and that's probably what this course is really aimed at, is those folks who can bridge traditional departmental divides. That leads us to the changing agency relationships. We've got the traditional agencies, and there's been that transformation between PR and ads, and ad people that are trying to be PR people, and PR people trying to learn how to do and place advertising. Well, That's all changed too, right? And now we're seeing new agencies focused on technology integration. They don't have any of the same kinds of names that they used to have 10, 15 years ago. There are whole new kinds of technological agencies that are the savvy on what's going on. Gary Vaynerchuk has an agency that's very, very much devoted to this idea of A/B testing. That's a technology situation. So then there's consulting firms actually that are coming in and entering the communication technology space, period, because that is the technological breakthrough. And then fourth, the governance and process changes. Cross-cultural steering committees. Oh, I hate committees, but we do need it to some degree, right? Unified planning and budgeting processes. Budgeting is, really where people actually get to do or not do what they want to or do not want to do. Budgeting tells us what we're going to do. Shared performance metrics and KPIs become the kind of the gold standard. That's how we get measured. That's what we need to know what those are. And then collaborative workflow. We talk more and more about that all the time, about how do we work within organizations so that there's actually some coordination involved. So the next thing we think about is that there are barriers to convergence. And despite the advantages of the tech stack and the technology, the challenges are clear. One, legacy technology constraints. I hate the term legacy. The first time I ran into it was probably 25 years ago. It was a system, it was just a hodgepodge. It was a $26 billion organization basically created out of mergers, and everybody had their own little technology, legacy technology, and it was broken. If you want to think about how that is really illustrated, think about the current air traffic control situation. The computers that they're using are, they're antiquated, but we can't live with that. The legacy systems actually constrain us a lot, and we need to find a way to find and really that really comes down to faster, better. Number two, organizational constraints. These silos we talked about, they threaten established budgets because people make their lives out of budgets. People make their lives out of responsibilities. People make their lives out of power structures, and they don't want to let go if they've got power. And they want to take it away if they don't. So the third thing is skill gaps. And this is something I think you're in this course, you understand this very clearly. There's a significant shortage of talent with the kind of cross-functional expertise. We have lots of experts, but do we have anybody that really can put the whole piece together, make the entire meal, so to speak? And then finally, this measurement complexity of unified measurement frameworks. That's what has to happen for us to be able to get to it in a simple enough manner that we can explain to everybody in the organization. We can actually have some understanding. So the best practices that we've come down to for navigating convergence, really, they come down to this. Start with strategy, not technology. By defining your integrated communication strategy, you then can actually get to a point at which the technology will serve as opposed to, moving or migrating to the bright, shiny object and thinking that's going to be the solution. Then secondly, focusing on the data integration first. Addressing convergence means simplify the tech stack. Third, build the cross-functional teams. Talked about this a lot. We'll talk about it more. But creating teams that span the departments, advertising, PR, IT, data analytics, and so forth. Fourth, develop unified measures. That's, these are the best practices. And fifth, invest in talent development. Training is essential. That's why you're in this course too, is you're trying to understand more deeply as to how we actually confront some of these challenges. So that's really what we talked about this particular session. This is a summary. The convergence of MarTech, AdTech, and CommTech represents this shift in how marketers approach customer engagement. And as these ecosystems, as we call them, merge, the companies embracing transformation will gain a competitive edge. If you don't, well, you're probably going to miss out. You need to deliver consistent, personalized experiences. That's the whole idea of audience of one, but a outcome that reaches millions. That's the tricky challenge we have, and we use technology to get there. In our next video, we'll explore the current state of these technology ecosystems, a year to date, 2025, and examine the most important platforms and tools and capabilities that basically in the converged environment, as we've described in this last video. We'll also identify the emerging technologies that are likely to shape the future of integrated communications. Hey, thanks. See you next time. Bye.